Sporting events like the FIFA World Cup, the NFL Super Bowl, and Wimbledon, the pinnacle of tennis, have the unique ability to captivate sports fans of all ages in every corner of the world. For our next three young guests, sports not only captivated them, but inspired them as well. Take, for example, Garrett Weiss. He was 15 when he attended the World Cup in Berlin and witnessed the overwhelming passion of the Angolan fans firsthand. So Garrett, along with his brother Kyle, created FUNDaFIELD, a student-run organization. FUNDaFIELD works with local communities to build soccer fields, provide soccer equipment, and to host soccer tournaments to help rehabilitate post-trauma and post-conflict regions around the world. Younger sister Kira serves as the director of operations, managing growth and expansion and helping to create fundraising initiatives to increase donations. To date, the group has raised more than $250,000 and has projects in places across Africa and in Haiti. Austin Gutwine was only 9 years old when he started Hoops of Hope, the largest basketball shoot-a-thon in the world. The global event raises money to support children orphaned by the AIDS virus. It helps build homes and schools. It also supplies medical resources for these children. Since its inception, Hoops of Hope has grown to an estimated 40,000 participants across 25 countries, raising over $3 million for AIDS orphans in Africa. Garrett, Kira, and Austin join us to share how all of them are working to change the world for other young people, and we want to welcome all of you to Full Frame.
Thank you.
So, Austin, let's start with you. You're 9 years old. Mom and Dad bring home this video. You watch it, and then you say, well, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and change the world. I'm sure that's not exactly how it went, but talk to us what happened.
Yeah, I think for me, what started out was hearing about kids in Africa who were being orphaned by AIDS. I had no idea what AIDS was. I had no idea that there really was this continent that lived with so much less than we had. And for me, that made me want to do something about it. I looked around and realized there's not a lot of stuff for 9-year-olds to do, but I really like basketball. So I decided maybe I can play basketball to help make a difference. It's a lot like a walkathon, except for instead of going out and walking a bunch of miles, we shoot free throws instead.
And so the first time you did it, how much did you raise?
What
was your objective, and then how much did you raise?
Yeah, very first time we raised about $3,000, and I just wanted to help people. It was just this very generic kind of goal, and so we sent that money and were able to sponsor 8 different children, put them through school for a year, give them food, give them shelter. And that was the very first year. I remember just thinking to myself, this is incredible. I mean, maybe there are other people who'd want to do that with us, and yeah, it's blown up from there.
Well, we'll get to that in just a minute, but Garrett, I want to draw you in. Obviously, you were a little slow. He did this at 9. You were 15, much older, much wiser. But talk to me about your experience and what happened with you.
So I was 15, but my brother was 13. So
okay, all right.
Balance there. No,
there won't be any fisticuffs here. We'll keep this clean.
No, so we were lucky enough to go to the World Cup in 2006 to see an Angola versus Iran game, and it was Angola's first ever World Cup. It had just finished a 20-year civil war. It was a huge moment for them to be at the World Cup, but no one had any expectations of them doing well. So, you know, this was a game. It wasn't the most exciting. Beforehand, we didn't think it would be the most exciting game. We just went because we had tickets and it's the World Cup. Fans are crazy. Let's go have some fun. And soccer was our life. So since I could walk, probably even before I could walk, I was playing soccer. Same with my brother, same with my sister. And we knew how much we loved it. That was, you know, I didn't think anyone else loved it more than I did. Going to this game, it was the first time that I ever saw anyone that cared more about soccer than I did. And at first I was kind of shocked. You know, we knew about big issues in Africa, you know, of just poverty in general, you know, of HIV, AIDS. You know some of the big issues, but you don't really think about what other, you know, norms that we have really how they impact their lives. So soccer was just something that I grew up with. I knew it was played around the world, but I didn't understand the importance of it in these, you know, these other cultures. So Angola had a really small section. We happened to be right next to them, and while talking to them, we decided, you know, we should send some uniforms over to them when we come back home. When we came back home, we talked with some of my best friends. And we were kind of naive, but we said, if they don't have soccer fields, it doesn't matter if they have uniforms. They're not playing soccer how we play it, so let's build soccer fields. And it really happened like that. It built up from there, but at that point on, we said, hey, we're going to build fields in Africa. And that's how it began.
I want to give equal rights to you as well. Kira's here. You started out as a DIT, which most people don't know what that means. So tell us about that. And you've clearly climbed the ladder within the DIT organization, haven't you?
Yeah, well, a DIT is a director in training. We had my two brothers, they were the co-founders, and then we had all the managers and the directors. And I was a lot younger. I was 8 at the time, so my older brothers.
So you beat him.
Sorry. I wasn't allowed to be a director yet, so I was a director in training. But then they found out that me and my little friends, we worked a lot harder than the older kids, so we slowly moved up the ladder until we were directors, managers, and managing directors.
And wow, and now you're really active, aren't you?
Yeah, since my brothers have gone to college, I've taken over most of the domestic clubs and groups, chapters around the U.S. And then also we're working on the Haiti field right now, and I'm working a lot on that. So
let me ask you this question, and I want all three of you to take a whack at it. We had James Altucher on our show, and he's written this book, and I remember clearly the chapter because I thought it was very funny. He talks about trampolines and how little kids see a trampoline and they run as fast as they can and start jumping up and down on the trampoline. And he said adults look at that and think, wow, that looks like fun. That's the first thing they think, and then they think, man, I could break my neck, I could fall off, I could do this and that. And he talks about that kind of, that attitude of young kids, that they just go full steam ahead, whereas adults tend to like, oh, this could happen, that could happen, that could happen. Do you think if this kernel had jumped into your head you know, I mean, you're an adult now, and you are as well, you're still young, that you might say, oh, that'd be so tough to do, or that, would you have approached it differently? And I'll start with you, Austin.
Honestly, I honestly don't know if Hoops of Hope, the idea had kind of come to me at 21, which is how old I am now. I don't know if I'd be sitting here and would have gone on to do it, because I think that there is something that when you're younger, you have this idea that anything is possible in this world. And I think that we've been taught that really well, but somehow we lose that as we get older, and we believe that certain things aren't possible anymore. And the truth is that, yeah, you can absolutely use your passion for soccer, your passion for basketball to change lives halfway around the world. And in our heads, I think even saying it out loud, it sounds like a crazy idea, but it's not. It's really not. To a 9-year-old, to an 8-year-old, that's a great idea.
And Garrett, same thing with you. What about you?
So we probably have a similar take on this, but I think it's all about taking small steps. Because when we first started, and from your story, it's the same thing. We didn't say we're going to build 100 soccer fields around the world. It was, let's try and have a fundraiser. Let's see if my soccer team will give us, I'll never forget our first $100 check. That was mind-blowing that someone was giving us money, and we had no legitimacy, right? So it was about getting that first check, then getting to $1,000, then getting to $5,000 and saying, can we have some uniforms from our teams, having uniform drives. And after that point, everything kind of, your next steps grow bigger and bigger and bigger, and nothing seems unstoppable. You think you can do everything, and so it does take time, but the no is never an answer, is really what it comes down to.
And Austin, that's a big part of it too, is taking a small bite at the apple, because initially you didn't raise that much, then all of a sudden it spreads like wildfire, which is much the same case with the two of you, right?
Absolutely. I think for us, I mean, my initial desire was to help AIDS orphans, and that's a very, very open-ended goal. And so I think that's what it has to start with is, shoot for the stars and realize that if you kind of land on the moon, you're still high up there. You're still kind of out of this world, and that was something that I always kind of latched onto, was I want to help AIDS orphans. I don't care how many we help, I just want to do something. I want to take a dent out of the disease.
Yeah, and the two of you have gone, I mean, places you probably never would have imagined, right? I mean, that's the other thing that's really cool about this, is you start out with this idea, maybe we'll get some jerseys or maybe a soccer ball or two or whatever, and then it flourishes, it takes off. But not only that, it's that journey for you. It's actually going to these places and seeing it in action. What's that been like? And I'll start with you, Kira.
I mean, I think it's incredible to go and see what you've done. I mean, for us, soccer in Africa, like my brother always says, soccer is religion. And so they are so passionate about it. We're passionate about it. And just playing with them and seeing like them on a new field that they never even imagined, it's incredible. and it's a common language, and it really just connects, and we're all just kids that want to have fun, basically.
Yeah, actually, that's what I would highlight too. Is you go thinking that you're going to this new world that's totally different in every regard. But at the end of the day, we have the most fun just playing soccer with them and hearing about their lives. And so the soccer kind of becomes the catalyst to get you there. But once you're there, you're hearing about their daily lives. We're living in the communities with them and just seeing that they have some of the same daily problems that we have. The girls and boys, they're trying to impress each other. We're playing soccer with them. They go to school every day and they're learning with the same subjects as us. And it never really hit me like that until we were there and just kind of hanging out with them, talking, playing with them. We also start getting friends as you go there, and with all this advancements in technology, they actually are able to have Facebook and things there. So they're sending us messages. When are you guys coming back? And it was so surreal to me the first time someone ever sent me a message on Facebook that we had met in a village in Uganda. I couldn't believe it. And then the next time we were there, he's like, "Oh, it was so good talking to you, and it's so fun following your lives and everything." It is a small world, and it's hard to imagine that because you think of Africa as this just different world.
I saw you smile too. This hits home for you as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think that the biggest thing for me that I realize is it absolutely is a small world, but also too the difference that you can make over in Africa. I mean, for me, I look at what we have here in America, and a soccer field doesn't mean nearly as much to us as it would to them. That opens up a whole new world of possibilities for people in Africa, and I think that's what is so incredible about doing work over there is not only how appreciative they are, but how much it truly means to them, how much it's going to impact their lives forever.
Let me ask you this question, Austin, because I saw a piece on you where you had soccer. You're the basketball guy, but you had a soccer ball and you gave it to a kid, and it made such an impression on him. Tell the story about his thank you note, how you got it, and how did that affect you?
Absolutely. So I love basketball. I also love soccer. I love sports, is just the truth. Very first trip over to Zambia, I was 13 years old, and we had just gotten out of this little church service, and there's this boy there, his name was George, and we had brought a ton of soccer balls with us, and so I pulled one out of the car, this old beat-up pink soccer ball. I played soccer with this boy George for a few minutes, and it was time for us to go, and I said, "Oh, here, George, you can have the soccer ball." I thought nothing of it. I thought, it's this old beat-up pink soccer ball that's going to go flat in a month anyway. But the next day, I saw this boy George's mom, and she had walked 12 miles to find me, to give me this little letter that George had stayed up writing for me, just thanking me for the soccer ball and saying how much it meant to him. And I think for me, that was the first time it really put in perspective. I mean, it's a soccer ball. But what we were doing was having such an impact on them that a soccer ball to him meant the world. And that's what, that was the story. And it forever changed me, realizing that these little opportunities that we have to make a difference for others, whether it be in Africa, whether it be here, when we take those opportunities, it means so much more to that person. And giving is so much better than receiving.
And I wanted you to tell that story because I want the two of you to take a whack at this too, because it's so easy to say, wow, these young kids are doing these great things for these people. But you get something out of it too. I mean, his story, that'll stay with you for the rest of your life. And I'm sure the two of you have stories as well. Why don't I start with you, Kira? Because something as simple as picking up something there and now you're selling it and you know that you're having an impact, but that impacted you. Talk to us about what we're seeing here in some of your materials right there.
Yeah, so, well, when we were first in Uganda, we started seeing this paper bead jewelry pop up. And we didn't really think anything of it, but then I decided to bring some back for my friends, and they actually really liked it. So we wanted to sell it for FUNDaFIELD. And as we began selling it, we began to support 31 women. And we didn't really realize what that meant, but then it turned out that they had 198 children. And so just us selling a few paper beads back home was changing their lives. And they went from doing back-breaking manual labor for less than $1 a day to making paper bead jewelry at fair trade prices, and all of their children were able to go to school, and just the impact that we can have was remarkable. And they were so grateful for what we were doing that it's incredible, and you don't want to ever stop helping them.
And friends, you made friends along the way, haven't you? I mean, it must be great to go back and see these people and the kinship that you have.
Yeah, so speaking of going back, when our first trip to South Africa, this was my first time. We had been working on FUNDaFIELD, but I had never been to Africa before. And I had never been to any real communities like that in my life. And so we held this tournament, and it was an amazing success out in very rural South Africa. We had Coke sponsor it, and they brought this truck out that became a dance stage, and it really became just like this party at the soccer tournament. All the surrounding communities were there, and so it was like the center event for the whole year for this community. So we brought uniforms, equipment, everything for all the teams, and we went back a few years later to hold another tournament in South Africa at the exact same fields, kind of like not a reminder, but to really support this community more. And every kid was still wearing their uniforms from that first tournament. What we found out is it ended up being like a status thing. We were able to play in this tournament, and you're kind of like a celebrity in the community at that point, which blew our minds as well. Again, soccer means a lot to us, but it isn't the defining part of our lives, right? This really was one of the most memorable events to ever hit Nduli High School and the surrounding community. So it was cool seeing how true that impact was on our second trip over there.
Austin, one final question for you, and I'll let the two of you answer it as well, but quickly if you can. If somebody's watching this and they want to do something, is it just start small and persevere? I mean, what's your overall takeaway?
Absolutely. I would say start small, dream big, and realize that you can do something. So just do anything. And that's the truth, is we get so caught up in the fear of what might happen. We just got to take that first step. All of us have those ideas. All of us have those dreams. It's about just taking that first step and doing something.
Kira?
Yeah, I would say for sure, honestly, support whatever you're passionate about, because that's what you're going to enjoy doing. And it doesn't matter if it's a bake sale that makes $5 or if it's a giant fundraiser. Every little thing helps. And I think most people forget that when they're thinking about if they can make a difference, but every dollar goes towards helping others, and the impact is going to be there no matter what you do.
Garrett, you get the final word.
Yeah, to go off both of you guys, I think it's a combination of, when you're passionate about something, that means someone else is probably passionate about it too. Not everyone can share that passion though, and not everyone has the chance for that. So whether it's soccer, basketball, playing the violin, speech and debate, there's always something that someone else cares about, and you can help them succeed in that passion. It can start small, and you'll never know where it'll take you.
Loop them all together, and pretty soon you can make a huge difference. Thank you three for coming on. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.